Hello, David here, and the project for today is making a backsplash for this bathroom sink. I've been looking at this ugly transition between the wall and the sink for the last 42 years, and I want to do something about it. Since I have some tile cement and grout on hand, I think I'm going to put a little border tile right here above the transition. Get rid of that grout. Put some new grout in, try to make it look prettier, if possible. Got 3 pieces of this 6-inch bullnose tile. Which will go in there like this. Stay up for me, baby. And I've got this 2-inch bullnose corner, which is gonna fit in right like that. So it's just gonna go over the end of the sink. Just a little bit. Kind of like that. Probably go over by a 1/2 inch, so it shouldn't look too objectionable. Before I get started, I want to see if the sink is level so I know what I have to work with. Because if the sink's not level, the tiles are probably going to have to match the sink. And the bubble is well centered, so I know everything's going to be level. Next thing I'm going to do is cut out this old caulk. Take it all out. It's going to be time consuming, so I'm not going to bore you. There must be 4 layers of caulk in here. This gap behind the sink is so huge it could swallow up the tile, and I don't want the profile of the tile to be below the level of the sink. So I taped a steel ruler to the wall and I leveled it, and that's where I want the top of the tile to be. I'm going to prep the wall with some very coarse sandpaper to make sure the cement sticks. I've got the center line of the center tile marked here, and here's the center line of the sink marked right there and there. So I'm going to index off the center tile. I'm going to use my oscillating blade as a spacer. Okay, just got to make sure that nothing shifts out of position, and that the any excess glue I got to start wiping off before that starts to set. The tiles are slightly too low, so I had to raise the ruler. Took the ruler off the wall, raised it up a bit, and then I used the level. I used the bubble level to push down on all the tiles evenly so I could get them all on the same plane. I got a screwdriver to take any excess glue out, because that's where the grout's going to go. The tile adhesive is set, and I noticed something funny after I removed the caulk between the sink and the wall. There's some wobble, and my intention was to fill the gap below the tile with grout. The problem with that is grout is not flexible. Grout's pretty brittle, and with any movement in the sink it's going to crack. Now the sink is mounted on a vanity, so I'm not worried about the sink falling, but I had to think of something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use caulk to fill in the area below the tile, and then I'll tool that, you know, shape it and all that stuff, and then I'm going to let that set, and I'll grout the tile. After 24 hours, the caulk was still soft. I read the instructions on the cartridge, and it said not to lay down any caulk that's thicker than 1/4 of an inch. So this was more than 1/4 of an inch. So as you see, I had to dig most of it out. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill that area in with the grout, and then I'm going to caulk over that. I'm going to be using a pre-mixed grout, some of the simple grout, pre-mixed grout, bright white, not a sponsor. And since this work area is so small, I'm not going to use a float. I think I'm just going to install it with a putty knife. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Next step is to sculpt any areas that might look uneven, and then in about 4 hours I could clean the tile. I see there's some stuff on the sink. I need to clean the sink as well. So I'm going to get a paper towel and clean the tile in the sink, and then come back in 4 hours. It's been a little more than 4 hours. Let me rub the tiles down. See if there's any haze on there. If there is haze on there, I'll probably have to use some haze remover. I don't feel any haze. Let me just check with a razor blade. See if I'm getting anything. Very little. I'm not going to use the haze remover. That way everything will be dry. I could come on in with the sealer. It's been 24 hours since I put the grout in, and now it's time to put some sealer on. Using some of this grout and tile sealer from Tile Lab, not a sponsor. Be careful of this stuff. It says it causes reproductive harm. I don't know what that means. Anyway, the deal is you wet the surface of the grout with this stuff and let it sit for 5 minutes, then wipe it off. And then it dries in about 2 hours, and I'll put a second treatment on, and after that, that's going to be it. I don't want stream, I want spray. The sealer's been sitting on the surface for about 7 minutes. I'm going to wipe it off now, and in 2 hours I'm going to apply a second treatment. I mentioned before that there was slight movement in the sink, so I didn't put any more caulk down over this area right here. But if a crack does develop, I'll probably open it up with the oscillating tool, and we'll caulk it at that time. I'm using this caulk. It's a ceramic tile caulk, and it's sanded, so it's also bright white, so the texture and the color will match the grout exactly. So with that, I'm going to call an end to this video project. I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Bye now.